So this is week 17. The last week, most of the time has been spent doing interviews and finishing up the illustration for Unit 6738. So let's take a look at that real quick. So this is the illustration now. I kind of consider this one done. Now, granted, with just about anything that I've done, I kind of find that the more time I spend looking at it, I find little details to add. But it's suitable for publishing. I think even some of the details that I did aren't needed for the level of detail that would go into a book. If you can zoom in on me, I did rivets and stuff like that, and as far down as some of the grill work. Or if there is such detail, you can even look behind this grill and see that some of the radiator fins are in there. Little, if any of that, will ever show up when this is published. But I'm pretty happy with it. Again, some new techniques I was able to learn and apply to this. But I can say compared to the previous ones that I had done, I'm actually really happy the way this turned out. If you look at the original photo that I used, I think it captures it pretty well. Again, I had to deal with some errors that were still kind of there with the perspective, but again, some final photos that I took specifically to try to correct those. I think it turned out pretty well. So I'm considering this done, albeit not the final version that I'm going to do, and that I'm going to do a separate version, which is going to be for the alternate paint job, or in this case, this was the original livery that was provided to Kent State when it was built by GM. So this is the same bus, Unit 6738, as it was when it was new-ish. In this photo here, it's a couple years old, but so most of the work is done. I should be able to just change the paint. There's some smaller details with it, like the hinges on the windows so they can swing open in emergency. They're silver here and they were black on the other. The tail light and turn signals are both red. There's not a difference between the two. I thought that was actually kind of interesting. But yeah, so that's kind of going to follow this, and that should be a lot quicker since most of it is just coloring of some things. So I should hopefully finish that up here in the next week. So that kind of concludes the illustration, at least the heavy lifting. I don't know if I'll do any other different buses. I may do, a 70 series, which is a similar model, but it has different windows on it. So whether that's worth including in the book, I don't know. I don't know what it would really showcase other than, again, different windows. I don't know, we'll see. We'll see how much work it takes to create that, and if it's worth putting in. If I can do it in just a couple hours, maybe just do it. So that's kind of it for the illustrations. And so the rest of the time has been spent doing interviews, which has been very enjoyable. I've met a lot of people, met them through the phone, but met a lot of people that I never knew before, but we all have a similar background working at the campus bus service. So despite our involvement maybe spanning decades of separation, we have a lot in common, so the stories are really a lot of fun, and so that's been enjoyable, and that will continue. So I'm trying to still do, a couple of those a week, at least 2, 3. You start getting into 4, that's a lot of work, a lot of time spent on that, but I still have at least a half dozen or so people on my to-do list, so I have at least a couple weeks, but every week I seem to be picking up 1 or 2 more people too, so that's been really enjoyable, so that'll continue. So that's kind of the short of it. For this weekly update to future me looking back on this, and I expect the same will hold true for next week, being interviews and maybe a dabble with the illustrations, and then I have to start thinking about what I'm going to do after that. So I could run out of things again. I don't know, I keep saying that, but I keep finding stuff. So that's it for this week. Next week will be a little bit more, and I'll update it when it happens. All right, bye now.